So hey guys, and welcome to the Nidus review. Now Nidus is slowly becoming my #1 Warframe in the game, and that's because, first of all, I am a big fan of tanky frames, and Nidus is very tanky, but it's also because of the toolkit that DE gave him. He's kind of like Sarin, where his abilities on their own are nice, but they really start to shine when you start comboing them together. So his effectiveness relies heavily on you, the person playing him. Yes, you can run around and spam one ability over and over and over again, which will work for a while, but you're going to be far less effective than someone who really knows how his abilities work and how they interact with each other. So let's take a look at this bad boy, shall we? So to get Nidus, you will first have to get the blueprint, which you get by finishing the Glass Gambit questline. To start the Glass Gambit questline, simply go to a relay station, go to the parent sequence room, and talk to this dude right here, which will start the quest. All the remaining parts can be found by going over to Ares and playing the new Oysters Infested Salvage, where they drop on Rotation C. And unless you're very lucky, this will probably take you a while. Now Nidus is very different when it comes to ranking up. Just like in Aros, he doesn't have any shields and he has 150 health, which will go up to 450 at rank 30. Now the first unusual thing is his armor, because it grows as he ranks up. So at rank 1 he will have 300, but at rank 30 he will have 450. The second unusual thing is his healing rate, because at rank 30 Nidus will regenerate 13 additional health every second. And finally, his power strength will go from the standard 100 to 115 at rank 30. Other than that, he has 100 power, which goes up to 150, average sprint speed of 1, and he comes with 3 polarities, a V, a D, and an additional V in the aura slot. Now Nidus' passive ability comes in the form of a unique mechanic called Adaptive Mutation. You can see the mutation counter at the bottom right corner of the screen, and you can have a maximum of 100 mutation stacks. These mutation stacks are used for many different things. First up, if you have 10 or more mutation stacks and you take lethal damage, instead of it killing you, it will consume 10 of those stacks, make you invulnerable for 5 seconds, and restore 50% of your health. Also, as you start building up your stacks, you will get different passive bonuses. So the first 5 stacks will give you bonus 50 armor, so 250 armor at 5 stacks, which is not bad. Every third stack will make you regenerate 1 more health every second, which caps at 7 health per second. You also get 0.01 bonus sprint speed for every stack, which caps out at 10. So at 10 stacks, you will have 1.1 sprint speed, which is faster than most other Warframes. You can also get bonus knockdown reduction, which stacks all the way up to 100 stacks, at which point it will give you 50% chance to resist knockdown. And finally, for every 20 stacks you get, it will reduce the amount of elemental damage you take, as well as reduce the duration of incoming status procs. However, this does not work with fire damage. Now, you get these stacks by damaging enemies with either his first ability or his fourth ability, and they are used to cast his third ability, which costs 1 mutation stack, and his fourth ability, which costs 3. And I should also probably say that since his third and fourth abilities use these mutation stacks, they don't cost any energy. So Nidus' first ability is called Virulence, where Nidus stomps the ground, sending out a 16-meter line of infested spikes that deal 200 puncture damage. Each enemy hit by the spikes will generate 1/5 of a mutation stack, and it will return 1/4 of the energy required to cast the ability. Now this is not capped, so if you hit more than 4 enemies, you will get more energy than you use to cast the ability. And it will always return 1/4 of the energy required per enemy hit. So even if you go into negative efficiency, yes, the ability will cost more to cast, but it will also return more energy when you hit enemies. Now, power range mods affect the length of the spikes, not the width, and the damage of the spikes is affected by power strength, but also the amount of mutation stacks that you have. And trust me, at 100 stacks, this ability starts to do an insane amount of damage, especially when you combine it with his other abilities, because this ability either works really well or directly synergizes with his other 3 abilities. But I'm not going to talk about the synergies right now, I'm just going to cover them as I talk about the other abilities. Nidus' second ability is called Larva, and this works kind of like Vauban's Vortex. When you use this ability, Nidus will throw forward a ball of infested tentacles that upon impact expand and pull in all enemies from 12 yards and ragdoll them for 7 seconds. And if you manage to kill all the ragdolled enemies trapped inside the tentacles before the duration runs out, the tentacles will disappear. Now, one important thing here is that the tentacles do not pull enemies continuously like Vauban's Vortex. It will only pull the enemies in once at the start when it either hits an enemy or a surface. The range at which the tentacles target enemies and pull them in is affected by power range, and the duration of the tentacles is affected by power duration. And I almost forgot to say that this ability is affected by line of sight. So if the enemies are outside of line of sight, so they're taking cover or they're around a corner, when the larva hits a surface, they won't be pulled in. And I don't think I have to tell you why this combos really well with his first ability. Nidus' third ability is called Parasitic Link, which will either link you to an enemy that's up to 20 meters away or an ally that's up to 40 meters away. The link will last for 60 seconds at base, and if you link yourself to an enemy, it will also stun them for the entire duration, and it will store all the damage they take, which will be released once you deactivate the link or the duration runs out. The range of the link is affected by power range, and the duration of the link is affected by power duration. If you link yourself to an ally, you and the ally will get 25% bonus power strength, and when you link yourself to an enemy, it will redirect 50% of damage you take to that enemy. And the awesome thing about this is that when you're linked to an enemy, it will also redirect all knockdown, staggers, and negative status effects to that enemy. Both of these bonuses are affected by power strength, with the damage redirection being capped at 90%, and it's a one-handed ability, so you can use it while performing many actions, including reloading. Now, Parasitic Link has a direct synergy with Nidus' first ability, Virulence. If you are linked to a target and you cast Virulence, two sets of spikes will come out, one coming from you and one from the linked target, and both of them will be centered onto your crosshair. And this combos really well with Nidus' second ability, Larva, because you can link yourself to a target, then shoot the larva somewhere nearby, and then you can start hitting the enemies with two sets of spikes, which does A, really good damage, and B, since you are hitting the enemies with two sets of spikes instead of just one, it builds up mutation stacks ridiculously fast. And if you have an AoE status weapon like the Pox that can strip away the enemy armor really fast, what you can do is throw the larva, throw in a couple of Pox grenades, link yourself to a nearby target, and boom! Everybody's dead, Dave. And Nidus' fourth ability is called Ravenous. This ability will create a circle of infestation with a diameter of 8 meters that will stick around for about 40 seconds. And if you or your ally stand on the infested ground, you will regenerate 20 health every second. Now, of course, that's not everything that happens, because when you spawn the infested ground, infested cyst will spawn, which will spawn up to 9 maggots. These maggots will run around, jump onto enemies, and bite them, dealing a little bit of damage. And if either the enemies kill the maggots, the duration of the ability runs out, or you hit the maggots with Nidus' first ability, Virulence, the maggots will explode, dealing 150 damage in a 4-meter radius. And each enemy that's hit by this explosion will give you 1/5 of a mutation stack. And if the maggots die before the duration of Ravenous runs out, they will just respawn on the infested ground near a cyst. Now, the duration of the ability is of course affected by power duration, but power range only affects the explosion radius on the maggots. It does not affect the diameter of the infested ground. And finally, power strength affects both the amount of health you regenerate when you're standing on the infested ground, as well as the explosion damage of the maggots. Now, this ability makes the previous combo even better, because now when you put down your infested ground, you will spawn maggots, and then if you bring enemies into larva and you link yourself to one of them and then start stomping with Virulence, you will also be hitting the maggots, which will explode and give you even more stacks and do more damage. And this is what I really like about Nidus. As I said earlier, you can use one ability over and over and over again and be somewhat effective, but it's far better if you understand what the abilities do and you combo them together. I don't think anyone's gonna be surprised when I say this. You absolutely have to get this Warframe. He is really fun. This is a really well-designed Warframe, and I think it was a brilliant idea to leave the energy management up to players, because you don't need efficiency. You can even go with Blind Rage, and you don't have to compensate the negative efficiency with Fleeting Expertise or Streamline if you're smart about when to use your Virulence, because if you hit 4 or more enemies, it's basically free, so the energy management is up to you. If you whiff too many Virulences, you're gonna run out of energy, but if you hit them every single time, and you hit at least 4 enemies, you can cast them over and over and over again until the end of time. So as I've said, this is a Warframe you should definitely get, and I know it can be a pain in the arse to get all the parts from the Infested Salvage, which is a mission that does take a long time, and it rewards it on rotation C, and the drop chance isn't that great, and it, just like with all the other Warframes, you can get the same part over and over and over again, but the grind is worth it. And I almost forgot, when you finally get Nidus, you can go to the infested door on your ship and it will open.
Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run. Hello there, operator. Well, this is awkward. How'd you open the door? No, wait, I can explain.
I thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. I have to go. Bye-bye.